Good evening, folks. Sorry, there was a slight delay there. It's 2 minutes past. The I don't know. Sometimes the system plays a little joke on me and messes me around a little bit. My slideshow disappeared, and magically I've been able to recover it and bring it back. This is the national support session for ENTP7311w or Entrepreneurship 3A. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the final submission that you've got to do for the subject. So you've done part 1, part 2. Part 2, I suspect you'll see marks probably, and your feedback, of course, probably by the end of the week, early next week. I'm hoping that they'll be able to release it by then. I am currently still marking before you ask. But that should be finished in the next day or so, and then the marks and the feedback will be able to be released to you. So far, so good with the marking. I'm quite happy. So nothing to stress about there. Oh, that doesn't look good. I just need to do a sound check. And Rabia, can you hear me? Okay, great. Sorry, I just saw on my side, it looks like my speaker's dead on my side, but okay. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so getting down to the key points of where we are, what we need to do. You've handed in those two, part 1 and part 2. We're now going to do a part 3, which we're going to draw on the information that we've used in part 1 and part 2, and then do a final submission. Due on the 5th of June, that's why we're doing this session tonight. If you look at your calendar, no class next week, and then suddenly it's the 4th of June, and then you're in trouble. So I'll be around on the 4th of June, but that'll probably just be to answer your questions that you have on the assignment, last minute questions and so on. It's the day before it's due. So by then you should be able to be ready to submit. We understand the rules. 1 minute to 12, it's due. Late is late. Minus 15% if you are late in handing in your assignment. Obviously, it needs to go through SafeAssign. Obviously, your referencing needs to be correct. This report, it said 2,000 to 2,500 words. When we get into it, I'm sort of looking at 500 to 750 words per question. And then you're going to struggle to fit it into those words. So I'm probably going to end up with closer to 3,000 words rather than the 2,000 to 2,500 words that's required. I'm happy around 3,000 words. There are certain questions are going to less words than others, but yeah, when you start going over 3,000 words, you need to start getting worried because then you're writing too much and you're probably losing track. As I mentioned, assignment 1 and 2 is crucial. There needs to be congruence between what you've done in 1 and 2, so there needs to be alignment. When I go back, which I will do, to assignment 1 and 2, and to see what you said there and what your approach was there, then I need to be able to see that you're following the same approach, unless, and I think there's very few cases, I think there's 1, maybe 2 cases so far, we have said, no, this is wrong. You can't do this, and these are the reasons why you can't do it. Then obviously you need to realign it slightly. If I've told you that the path that you're on for that particular section of that particular assignment is the wrong path, there's no use in repeating that. Yeah, you need to then take the inputs I've given and realign what you've done. As I said, there's not many of you. 1 or 2 of you, I might have said that on a section. No, none of you. I've said, no, listen, you're totally on the wrong path. So in general, you guys are going where you're supposed to be going. This is an essay question. You're not supposed to use bullets. So in other words, it should be something that I can read. It'll have a cover page. It'll have an introduction. It'll have the 4 questions. It'll have a conclusion with your reference list. And if you do have appendices, they will then be attached. Having said that this is an essay, there are sections that you'll see, yeah, we're probably going to have to use a different technique, but I'll highlight that to you now. Okay, let's get into the different questions. As always, I've tried to break it down by question so that we can talk about what you should do in each question. Please, please, please do not only use this. Don't just listen to the recording and then go, have your assignment open. Read what the assignment document says. Very importantly, read the rubric. Because when I mark, I have the rubric open next to me. And I mark strictly on what the rubric tells me to mark. So I take question 1.3, I've got to mark 1.3 now. I say, what does the rubric say for 1.3? What have you written? And I evaluate you against that rubric. So make sure that when you writing your question and when you're prepping an answer, that you aim for the far right-hand side, the highest marks in the rubric. Try to meet all those criteria. When you finish writing, re-look at your answer, re-look at what you're going to present, and then look at that far right-hand side. Okay, right. Let's have a look at this question by question. So question 1.6 deals with chapter 16. Every time I'm giving you a chapter, I'm not going to tell you the detail of that chapter. You need to go look at that chapter yourself. But please, and I'm going to mention this numerous times, you need to read wider than Nick and Murray. You need to go find the stuff in other sources, in different places. Your module outline gives you a bunch of other sources, but you also need to use Google Scholar and other appropriate tools to go scratch around and find more information. Nick and Murray is not going to get you through this one. Okay, in any case, chapter 16, Nick and Murray, talking about stakeholders. So they ask you in this question to discuss the stakeholders of your application, of the app that you've said, look, this is the app I want to build and what I would like to present. Now, in chapter 16, you'll see there's something called the Mitchell stakeholder topology. Now, you shouldn't only deal with Mitchell, and you shouldn't deal with Mitchell in its entirety. You need to say, who are your stakeholders? Go look around, go do some Google Scholar searches on stakeholders and see what are the stakeholders for various companies, what would be the stakeholders for your app. You need to discuss your stakeholders by name. So you mustn't say there are these type of stakeholders and these type of stakeholders and these type of stakeholders. For my app, this group of people will be a stakeholder. That group of people will be a stakeholder. Once you've identified and said why and who they are, who these people are, you use the Mitchell stakeholder typology and see where do they fit in. I think if I remember correctly, Mitchell's got about 8 different typologies. Where do these people fit in? Say, are these going to be people that are going to help you or hinder your app? Remember, stakeholders are not always your friend. Stakeholders are also your enemies. Right? So go look at what Mitchell says about that and see where your stakeholders fit in here. Yeah, the idea of simply identifying and discussing is not the key part. It's the reasoning, the why is this person a stakeholder? Why is this group a stakeholder? Why do I say it's this type of stakeholder? Why do I classify them in this manner? What are they going to do for me to be able to put them in that classification? So the reasoning and the argumentation is important here. And as I said, Nick and Murray's just not going to pull it through for you. Yeah, Nick and Murray's got a paragraph, 2 paragraphs on this section, specifically on Mitchell. You're going to have to go look wider. See if you can find the original Mitchell source. See if you can find a academic article that somebody has written on Mitchell's typology and take it from there. So the first question, remember, you're building on part 1 and part 2. So you must go look at what you said in those 2 parts. Who are your stakeholders? How do you classify them? Who will help you? Who will fight you? You're looking at about probably towards the 750 mark in terms of words on this question. Before I move on to question 1.2, any questions on this, or can I go on? If there's silence, I take it as golden, and I'm cool. Right. Question 1.2 deals with chapter 6, a customer journey map. This is one of those ones where you're not going to do the 750 words. I suspect it's going to be a bit shorter than that. And you've decided previously in your previous assignment, who is your segment? Who's your customer segment? And you've targeted that segment. Now what they're asking you is to make a customer journey map. This will be a visual presentation. So you'll probably have a page that has a diagram on and shows what is the customer journey map. Now, don't freak out about that. If you could look in chapter 6, there's two things you can use. There's a 6-step process, and below it, there's a 5 stages of interaction. Choose one. Don't go for a mixed match between the two. Choose one of those two. There are other stakeholder journey, other customers. The customer is also a stakeholder, but this is a customer journey map. Or other journey maps that can be used. I suggest you use either the 6 steps or the 5 stages. However, if you want to go out and find something else, go for it, right? You're going to have to read further about how journey maps are put together. You're going to have to read outside Neck and Murray. They are not the best source in terms of explaining the journey map. There's better sources out there. You're going to illustrate in any which way you want to this journey map, and then you're going to discuss those 5, depending if you use the 6 steps or the 5 stages. Each one of those stages you're going to discuss briefly, 3, 4, 5 sentences per one, probably in a bullet type of, I don't want to say use bullets because we're not supposed to use bullets, but in that type of format. So what does the question look like? The question has a graphic of some sort, which you determine, you decide what it looks like, with some information there. Depending if you use 6 steps or 5 stages, the information will differ. And then below that, the second part of that question will be a description of the journey map and why you say so. Be careful. The question says, have a look at table 6.5. I don't think that's the answer. It may help you. It may assist you. But it doesn't tie in properly with the 6 steps or the 5 stages for me. But have a look at that. You can answer this question via a table. But I think there's ways to do this question much prettier. Is that a word? Is prettier a word when we talk about the way in which we answer questions? But more eloquently, more visually appealing. And obviously, when one marks these things, more visually appealing something is, the higher the marks are going to be. So play around, have some fun with this. It's a nice little question to really show a bit of flair in. Can I move on, guys? Can we look at question 1.3? Okay. Thank you. Question 1.3 coming up. This deals with chapter 8. So I'm giving you the chapters. It's not rocket science, guys. Seriously, if you open the module guide, you look at the question, you read you search the key word, you'll find it's chapter 8. So it's not like I'm giving you answers. A mission, vision, and value statement for your app. So once again, read up. You must understand what a vision, mission, and a value statement is. And you need to understand those are 3 distinctly different things. They do 3 distinctly different things. You don't have to tell me what they do. But through your description of it, I need to see the theory coming through. So you will have to, once again, you can read Nick and Murray. They've got a section, a nice section, and they show they've got a visual representation. Once again, if you want to show your mission, vision, and value statement in a visual representation, go for it. But you need to make the statement or show me the statement, and then discuss each brief. So Yes, definitely. Thanks, Skylar. The Stratman textbook, actually, I always want to say not just the third year textbook, the first, second year, and third year BizMan textbooks will all be very, very helpful. Yeah. But as I say, these things are so universal that really there are so many sources on this and how to go about it. You'll find step-by-step guides how to write. So guys, have a bit of fun with this one, but please, 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 please. There's two parts to this. You need to make the statement. So show me what your vision is. Show me what your mission is. Show me what your value statement is. But then you need to discuss each briefly to justify two things: to justify the statement that you've made, but also to show me that you understand the theoretical underpinnings of what a mission is, what a vision is, and what a value statement is, and how they're different. And that's where the referencing is going to come in. But don't start writing before you don't understand the difference. Okay, let's have a look at question. Is that happy? Everybody clear on that? No problems there. Okay. Going on. Thanks, Michal. Going on to question 1.4, which is dealt with in chapter 11. This is the failure one. So we all know for entrepreneurship, in entrepreneurship, failure is a reality. Typically, entrepreneurs fail with more businesses than they are successful. It's not really a problem. That's what entrepreneurship's about. You try a business, you fail, you regather, you learn, you start a new business, you fail until you find something that works. Many entrepreneurs have had many failures before they have their first success. If you look at somebody like Richard Branson and you go read, there's on the web, there's articles dedicated to Branson's failures. There's companies that you probably wouldn't even have heard about that Branson tried with and failed with. We all know Virgin Atlantic and the Virgin Gyms and those things. Back in the day, Virgin Music, and we all think, oh, yes, this guy's a great entrepreneur. He's a great entrepreneur because he failed and he learned from his failures and applied those things to other businesses when he started them. So what you need to do for this question is identify and describe reasons why your app would fail. So tell me what can go wrong, and not one. You need to find a couple of things that you can say this can be catastrophic. This is what the thing is, and this is why that'll make my app fail. So give me a couple of those, and then you select one of those. And if that was to happen, what would you learn from that? What would your takeaway be? What would you be able to say going into my next business that I want to start? What am I going to do differently because of this one thing that has happened? And then there's another part to this question. Discuss grit. Grit is that thing that an entrepreneur has to keep going, to keep on trying. And there's a whole section in Neck and Murray, but grit is discussed in many sources in many different ways. So go read up about grit and why grit is essential. Grit is the thing that got you into the final year of this qualification, where many others have dropped out. Right? That's what grit is. And how does an entrepreneur use grit to ensure that they have success now and in the future? What role will grit play? Once again, more sources needed. This one's again one that you probably, this one and actually the previous one, that you're going to get to your 750 words. I think with not too much difficulty. You may find with both the previous one, the vision, mission, value statement question and this question, you may find that you struggle to keep it below 750. And then finally, because this is an essay question, you've had an introduction right at the beginning. You'll have a conclusion about the 4 issues, 100, 150 words. You check your referencing, you put it through Grammarly, and you submit it early to make sure that you can check your plagiarism, because you need to use, and I can't reiterate this too much, you need to use more sources than Neck and Murray. Up to this point, you could have got away with Neck and Murray, because it was pretty practical. This is also a practical submission. However, you need to show that you understand the theoretical underpinnings of what a mission, vision, and a value statement is, of what grit is, of what failure is. You need to demonstrate those things. The customer journey map. You need to show you that you understand the theory that underpins it. And that theory doesn't just come from one source, it needs to come from various sources. That is the written essay that you need to submit on the 5th of June. Is everybody comfortable? Everybody understands? Any questions about that before I address the elephant in the room? Comfortable? No questions? Okay. Let me move on to the next one. Grateful eyes. Yes. Peer sources for grit, peer-reviewed sources for grit. You will struggle to find them. And where you will find them, and this is where you've got to play a little game, the research game that we do. You will find a lot of sources for grit if you search in something like Google Scholar, you will find grit, but you will find them in psychological magazines. You will find them for students and studying. You will have to sift through those articles to specifically find those ones that speak to entrepreneurship and grit. They are there, but you will on a normal Google search, you will struggle to find anything on grit and entrepreneurship. They are deeply hidden. You will have to go to a specialized search engine like Google Scholar, and then you'll find those articles. If you do entrepreneurship grit, you'll find articles. You're gonna have to stretch a little bit, but also, you know, I'm also always very hesitant. Students say, "Oh, it's so much easier. I'll just use the blog article." Blogs are dangerous things to use. So try to go find those academic articles. They are there. It's just you need to scratch it a little. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. So let's understand quickly I want to do a quick history lesson. Last year was the first year that there was a third year class in this course. Last year we had assignment, and they had wrote a sit-down exam. We were all up in arms about it. So this year, because we said it's unfair, you can't have assignment, sit-down exam. You should take it to a POE. So this year they've listened to us and they've taken it to a POE, so there's no sit-down exam. But then they've come and they've thrown this little curveball in, the Shark Tank presentation. So at the end of the assignment, they say there's a Shark Tank presentation. I'm currently inquiring, one, should the online students do the Shark Tank presentation? And if yes, why? Because you will next semester do a very similar presentation to this in your will module, and that is part of the assessment of will. You have already for this module done the recording right at the beginning, which is very close to what you need, what's required here. So I'm currently inquiring, I'm struggling to get answers, but don't worry about 5th of June as a deadline for Shark Tank, right? As soon as I know what's going on, I will let you know, and I'll probably do a separate recording on the Shark Tank and what you will have to do for Shark Tank if you have to do it. So I don't want to get too deep into it, because I want to understand first, what do we require from an online student for this? In essence, the Shark Tank presentation will be, you will be presenting to Shark. So Shark Tank show, there will be 2 or 3 people, you will present to them. The idea is that they are a corporate. They want to do corporate entrepreneurship. So you have to read up about corporate entrepreneurship and what people want. And they are interested in investing in your app, and you must sell the app to them. You would then use all the information that you've gathered throughout the year or throughout the semester to pitch. And you would do I think it's a 7-minute to 10-minute pitch. This pitch will be live. In other words, I'll open a room like this. We will have your slides running, or we'll do it in Teams or something like that, and you will pitch live to these people. My problem with this is, when do we do it? How do we get outside participants to sit in on this, etc., etc., etc. So I want more clarity, which I haven't got at the moment. If this does happen, I will probably lay out 3 dates, and I'll probably end up using a Tuesday evening, and a Saturday morning. I'll give some time slots. You'll book a time slot. You'll come in at that time slot. You'll do your presentation, and you will leave again. And this will do with each of you. But as I say, give me some time, please. I've made inquiries. I'm struggling to get answers. And if this happens, it'll be a live presentation. Sorry, I didn't see who asked that question. It will be a live presentation, so you will have some kind of a visual on the screen. That is my understanding at this stage. Whether it is what we talk about, a talking head, so it's your face talking, and we see you, or whether it's a slideshow that we see, or whatever, it's a live presentation. So yes, it will be a video presentation. These are the questions I'm asking. This was designed for face-to-face students. I've run these things before for my students, right? You've got the student in the class, you've got an audience sitting there, which are the other students, and on my campus, we invite a much wider audience. You've got 3 panelists sitting in the front that are experts in various fields, and you then present to them and they ask you questions, which is all good and well when we're in a physical presentation, but online it's a completely different ball game. So I'm querying whether this is necessary, because there are other things that online students don't do that face-to-face students do, and there are things that online students do that face-to-face students don't do. And my question is this one of those things that nobody's thought about, the online guys? So I will let you know soonest. Whether I then call a class where I work specifically on Shark Tank, and whether I do a recording, is open for debate. At this point in time, I don't want you to particularly worry about Shark Tank. I want you to concentrate on the actual essay, on the actual assignment, the POE, the final POE. And when we get to an answer on Shark Tank, we will then deal with it. Whether dealing with it means I inform you that we're not going to do it, or whether dealing with it is I inform you that we are going to do it in this manner, these are the dates, and we then work that out from there. I will, in any case, if we have to do it, you will have information, you will know what to do. Whether it's a class or presentation, a recording that I make and upload, and I'll give you the opportunity to ask me questions, the whole thing, you will know what to do. So don't worry about that. But I don't want you to worry about the Shark Tank presentation now. We'll worry about that if we need to worry about it. But I did want to address it now because I have had questions about it already. Okay, that's it. Any questions? Anything else you want to ask me about the assignment? Anything else you need to know? Anything else that I need to address? Okay, thanks, Michal. Okay, guys, if everybody's happy, have a good evening. Guys, this POE, I know you've got priorities of other subjects and so on, but look at this and start working on this sooner rather than later. It is not, if you've worked through the whole recording to this point, you'll notice it's not difficult, but there's a lot of hoops to jump through. If you listen to what I've said about each question, I've said, oh, and the second part of this question, oh, and then you also need to, so make sure that you're ready to jump through all those hoops. So that we understand that what we have to do, and we know where we're going to struggle, and we've got enough time. Kayla, I'm not going to remember this tomorrow. Won't you drop me an email, please? I'll go check it, and then because I've got to go into the system and go find it and see what's going, and then I'll check that ice. I haven't finally submitted ice yet. I'm trying to I will look at your ice probably tomorrow afternoon, to this class's ice. I was supposed to submit it on yesterday. Was my final submission date. I'm not submitting it until they start screaming at me, because if there's students that are still trying to catch up on ice, I want to submit as late as possible so that I give those students an opportunity to also, yeah, I should probably not have recorded that, because now the guys at the campus can hear me saying this to you. But yeah, I will, the moment I get a message to say, why have you not done your ice, I will then submit my ice marks. So I do have a bit of time, but Kyla, please email me, and then I will look at it at that point, as soon as I see your email tomorrow morning, and then I'll see if I can fix that for you. Okay. Anything else, guys? Yeah, part 2, I said right at the beginning, I don't think you joined it yet. Part 2, I am still marking. I suspect you guys will see marks, have marks end of this week, early next week. Yeah, for me, there's no major issues. I mean, I know everybody wants to get 100%. But it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But I haven't come across anybody yet that I'm saying, ooh, ouch, this is going to hurt a lot. In this class where we are at now, I don't have, we always have concerns with some students and saying, ooh, yes, I hope the student makes it. There's nobody in this class that concerns me at this stage. I think all of you should comfortably pass. So yeah, at this stage, I'm not saying I have passed all of you. Please don't, if you happen to fail the subject, don't come to me and say, Carl, you said we'd all passed. But I don't have any reservations about anybody in this class at this point in time. So if that gives you an indication. Some are better, some are worse, but there's nobody that I'm freaking out about. Okay. Okay, guys, if that's it, thank you very much. I will get back to you as soon as possible regarding the Shark Tank presentations, what's happening there. And then I'll probably see you on the 4th for questions, on the last minute questions on the assignment before you hand it in the next day. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening. Cheers.